Here's how the inner narrative will get started. The mind will take a snapshot of what is apparently happening. A snapshot meaning a very basic sense of where I am, what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, what just happened, and who it involves. And from that snapshot, there will be some internal comment such as, I'm doing this because, or I'm resisting that, and here's why. Or, so-and-so did this, so now that means I have to do this. Or, here's what I'm gonna do about this situation later, and then you start imagining it. So watch for this transition point between a snapshot taken of the senses with just a little bit of labeling or context put over it, and where that turns into the sense that I'm going to do something about it. This is how I'm responding to it, or this is how I'm going to respond to it. Where it starts to feel like that snapshot turns into time. That snapshot turns into action. And it feels as if you're an agent, you're someone who has will and a separate dynamic effect from the rest of the environment that's acting upon the environment in some way. It might feel like it's acting in concert with the environment, and it may feel like it's acting in opposition to the environment. But regardless, it feels as if you have some project, something to do about the situation, whatever that is. Whether it's something someone said, or a situation going on at work or in a relationship, or whether it's your internal situation, whether it's how you feel. If you're feeling certain emotions that you don't want to feel or don't think you should be feeling, or feel like you need to do something about, or even physical pain, what do I need to do about this to make it better? Just understand that all of these ways of moving away from our experience, just understand that all these ways of moving away from our experience are like the on-ramps to the highway of mind identification. Once we believe that we're already reacting, once we believe that there is some agency, once we believe that we're pushing or pulling at our experience because it feels that way and the thoughts support it, we're already identified. Now, by this point, it doesn't really matter who's identified. That doesn't really get you out of it. You have to be authentic with yourself and realize, I actually do feel that way. I'm pushing or pulling on experience. I'm truly reacting to things that are happening around me. Now, the distinction between reaction and response might seem like a subtle one, but when the reactivity decreases or subsides, it's not subtle. It's really obvious, the difference. Response is simple, spontaneous. Nothing tenses against it. It doesn't feel like there's struggle involved. It feels often intelligent in the sense that it feels creative. It comes out of nowhere, but it makes so much sense. There's also nothing holding on to that. The response itself is not identified with. It just feels like a fluid movement with the entire environment. There's not someone there struggling against, putting their finger on the scale. The agendas just aren't there. That's how responsiveness feels. Reaction feels like contraction, tension, pushing, pulling, frustration. It turns into an emotional cascade pretty quick. Now, there can be latent emotions like repressed frustration, fear, anger. So sometimes you have to feel into that, realizing that could be in the background. It could be a sort of repressed frustration tone. If that's the case, and you continue to dig into these reaction triggers, it will usually come to the surface. You'll start to feel it very directly. And that's a good thing. You want to feel that directly. Because until you feel it, you can't really acknowledge it. Until you acknowledge it, you won't even realize how much reactivity there is. And if you don't realize how much reactivity there is, you can't find the links between reactivity and perception. And if you don't find the links, you can't break the chain. So be alert. Be relaxed, but be alert. Now, a good way to be relaxed, natural meditation. Meditation without any agendas at all. Meditation without trying to modulate our experience at all. Not even modulating our attention. Letting things be as they are. Not trying to get into a certain state. Not trying to dissolve anything or relax anything. Not trying to achieve an idealized experience. Not trying to have a certain emotion. Not trying to push away a certain emotion. Not pushing thoughts away. And not getting indulgent with thoughts. Not getting entangled with and involved in thoughts. Natural meditation. Doing this calms the body and mind, and it decreases the amount of struggle, of push-pull with experience. It doesn't end it, and it doesn't get to the fundamental misperception directly, but passively it does calm all of those tendencies. And from that space of calm, of not struggling, of feeling a sort of meditative equanimity, we're in a very good place to start to investigate directly. What causes reaction? Where does the snapshot of the mind trying to say, this is what's happening? This is the narrative or the nominalization of this moment, the collation of what's happening such that I can turn that into a narrative, I can turn it into a story. I can start down the path of doing, of what I want and what I don't want. From this place of meditative equanimity, we can see that happening and look to see, is there actually a link there? Is there a link between a simple snapshot of the five senses, or even the six senses if you include consciousness and mind and thought, and a dynamic narrative, an ongoing self, a selfing mechanism? Is the link actually there? Keep looking. When you look, you'll feel the discomfort, the squirminess, the restlessness. That's okay. It doesn't mean anything's gone wrong. It means you're in exactly the right place. So feel that restlessness, that squirminess. It can be intense, like you want to crawl out of your skin. The thoughts will say, you can't handle this. You have to do X, Y, Z. You have to react. Just let those thoughts be. Notice what they're made of. Consciousness. Let them move and be still at the same time. The wave and the ocean. And then return to the sensations again. The movement, the stillness. Leads you right into the body sensations. It might feel squirmy. It might just feel a little restless. It might feel inherently uncomfortable. But that discomfort, just as it is okay. Do you really have to turn it into anything other than it is? Other than momentary discomfort? Does it have to become a narrative? Does it have to become a plan? Does it have to become the momentum of selfing? Or can we just remain here? Just as this is, without modifying it. Letting the mind take its snapshots. Letting sound be sound, and sensation be sensation. And one breath be one breath. And the colors and swirls and visual patterns be just what they are. What if we don't turn that into anything? What if we don't create an outer world or an inner world? What if we don't get entangled in thoughts, but just enjoy the natural equanimity of consciousness as a whole, accommodating any thought, but not getting entangled in any thought. This is where the work is done, the working space. And the work is letting the links of this chain of identity fall one by one.